So I know everybody has that recipe in their family that people don't want to share because they don't want it to get out because it's a secret. Well, this is the recipe I have that I'm sharing with you today that maybe I shouldn't let out because it's a secret, but I'm gonna let it out anyway because we've got to prepare for Christmas. And during Christmas, Santa gets his plate on Christmas Eve. And he needs his plate to be complete and balanced with protein, fiber, and a little joy. So we're preparing Santa's plate today for him and his reindeer. And we're preparing it early because we want this recipe to be balanced and perfect for Christmas Eve. So come with me today as I prepare Santa's plate. And I hope my family doesn't get too mad because I'm going to share a couple secrets about the cookie recipe that's the favorite in my family. Because this cookie recipe is pretty simple. You just have to follow an equation. And this equation also mirrors life. So you're going to get Santa's cookie plate, the equation, and you're going to get an equation for peace over your holiday season. So stay tuned and look at the comments below for the full recipe. So let's dive in. Every ingredient in this recipe has a purpose. Just like engineering every part of your life for a peaceful life means being purposeful and intentional. And we'll start with our all-purpose flour. This is what gives the cookie structure. This is what holds things together. This is the efforts you make. This is you showing up every day. It's something that has to be done, but it's not always talked about. So we're gonna start with flour, and we're gonna use 2 cups flour. You don't have to be perfect with this, folks, just like this. Some recipes will tell you put your wet and your dry separate, but honestly, I just combine them all together, and it makes a beautiful recipe. You'll find the details in the description below. Now, my next ingredient is a ½ teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt. Salt is that ingredient in your life that is the honesty, it's the truth. It's the enhancer. It's something that brings out the flavor of everything. Without honesty, your life will be a mess and your recipe will be a mess without salt. So add salt in here. I just like to kind of use the coarse ground type because it'll give you those bursts of salty flavor. And Santa loves salt because it also provides electrolytes for a long sleigh ride. Now my next ingredient is baking soda. You want to use 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda is what gives cookies their lift. Without them, the cookies will fall flat. And without growth in your life, you will fall flat. So make sure when you're engineering yourself a peaceful life that you have growth. You have lift in your life. Now my next ingredient is brown sugar. This is what makes these cookies different. Brown sugar makes cookies a little chewier. I use a cup of brown sugar, but the difference in the way I do this is that I don't make it packed. I just lightly add the brown sugar so that it is not a full packed cup. This is all I do here, folks. You can see that it's barely a cup. Now, how does this represent your life? Well, this is the sweetness in life. This is joy. You need a little bit of joy, but you don't need too much for a peaceful life. Now, this is my little twist on the perfect chocolate chip cookie recipe. And I'm telling you that this has gone through a lot of iterations, and I have found that for the fat in your cookie, the best consistency is from organic coconut oil. I use a cup of oil. The oil is just enough that it seeps into all the nooks and crannies and the edges of the cookie, and it makes it soft. And that's a component in your cookie and a component in life. You need to be strong, but you also need to remember the softer side of life is important too. So I'm gonna get here a cup of this coconut oil. You don't have to be perfect with it. I keep my coconut oil out so it's at room temperature so that when I dig in for the coconut oil, you can see that it is not hard to get out. I would not recommend that you keep your coconut oil in the fridge because then you will have problems when you go to get this out. And the beauty of getting it out when it's at room temperature is that you don't have to use beaters. You can actually stir all of this with your hand. Also, it gives you a little bit of a workout. So I've got my cup of coconut oil here, folks, and you can see it's all kind of in there. And then this is where the fun begins. But first, we need a connection. And what's that connection that we're gonna use? That is eggs. Now we need 2 eggs, folks, and this is a pretty standard recipe for the egg component, but 2 eggs is the connector in the recipe. And what that means in life, eggs are your connection. Connections bring things together that wouldn't normally come together, like purpose, love, and joy. Eggs are your connector. Make sure you have connections in life. It makes life much more enjoyable. So mix those eggs around. I like to make a little well where my ingredients go. You can kind of see it in there. So you're prepared for your next wet ingredient. And this, folks, is the secret to all of my cookies, and that is almond extract. Almond extract gives that little personal spark. I only use a teaspoon. You don't need much, but it enhances everything. Just like your creative spark, your purpose, what enhances and drives you. It's that little spark of life that completely changes everything. Add your almond extract, and you will see that the kitchen starts to smell amazing too. So when we're engineering our joy here, our joy sweetness component in this recipe, I use Lindt chocolate, and I use dark chocolate to boot. Now the best way to do this is to get a standard chocolate bar, put it in a Ziploc bag, and then just break it. This will give you chocolate chunks the good old-fashioned way. It'll also put a little hard work into this cookie recipe. And you know that hard work is a component to a peaceful and a successful life. Nothing you do isn't going to be done without hard work, and that is inevitable. The best things in life take time, patience, and a little good old-fashioned hard work. So don't let this scare you, but you're going to be making chocolate chunks. And the reason I use a chocolate bar is because they're carefully curated in the label, and I can see exactly what's in them. And typically I go for 70% or above for dark chocolate. And I like the first ingredient to be cocoa. So there we go, folks. Chocolate pieces are made, and if you find that they're not small enough, you can go back and you can crunch them yourself, just like this. Very simple, easy, delicious, and the components are clean. And that's good for Santa, and that's also good for you. So let's get this here mixed up. And then once this is all together with the chocolate chips, you're gonna start making balls out of your cookies. Now, sometimes what I'll do towards the end of my baking process is I start to knead these cookies. I knead them like a bread dough. It's very fun, therapeutic, and you can see them actually come together. And the trick here is once you get that ball of dough, you need to make the right size cookies. Now, I am a fan of big cookies. I like them to be filling up my plate, and Santa likes that too. So I take a handful, a fist here, and I just roll them into balls. I've made a lot of cookies in my lifetime, and I found the perfect size to make those big old grandma type cookies is about the size of a fist. It can fit into your hand. That is the size that I make these cookie balls. And not only does it make for a really nice solid chocolate chip cookie for Santa, it also makes it thick and fit on the plate nicely. And it cooks quicker, and you don't have to roll thousands of tiny balls of cookies. It is literally the perfect size I've found in my cooking baking quests. So give it a try. Now I use unbleached parchment paper for my cookie sheet. And you really can go a long way with this stuff. You don't have to just use it once. I like to save it and use it multiple times. So cover your cookie sheet with parchment paper and then equally space out your cookies. Now, since these are big guys, they're going to need extra space. So I do about 6 equally spaced cookies per sheet, and I put the oven at 375. So there you go. They're ready to go. Now the oven is set at 375 and your cookies are baking. They'll bake for 10 minutes, but check on them after 8 minutes because you'll find if they start to spread out and the edges start getting a little bit brown, you're gonna wanna pull them out. Now the next step is to prepare Santa's plate. Now the secret to this is I like to use grass-fed, grass-finished protein powder. My favorite is Levels. I'm not a sponsor of them, but I find that they overall have the most natural ingredients. They're sweetened with stevia, so if you want to add protein, I find it better to add it as a supplement to my cookie plate, not in the cookie, because it will influence the texture. So I use a scoop of vanilla protein powder and I put it here in my mug. And that will be added to some skim milk, and there's your protein source. That's with protein, and that's what Santa gets on Christmas Eve for his drink. And here they are, sizzling and baking. These cookies just turn out perfect, and it's because of the cookie equation that I talked about. The ratio of that coconut oil, that brown sugar, and all of the ingredients combine for just a wonderful symphony. I'm looking at the ingredients and what's behind them and the components for a peaceful life. You can see what drives your peace too. Consistency, structure, honesty, hard work, creativity, and your purpose. And now, folks, we can reap what we sow. As you can see here, the cookie is done. It is a perfect texture, and it's paired with some carrots and a little protein drink. Cheers to Santa and a wonderful holiday season. And don't forget this holiday season to pay just as much attention to you as you do to Santa's plate. And if you found this content useful, please don't forget to subscribe for a beautifully engineered life and holiday season. Thank you.